Okay, and the math professor is on the air once more, fighting for truth, justice, in the American way. All right. Let us also include our compañeros Oh.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting key followed by enter your participant ID followed by pound. You are in the meeting now. You are the first participant. Please stand by.
Hurrah for me. All right, so I want you to open your computer, push the window button down in the lower left corner, and find Excel. It will be listed under E, strangely enough. All right, so when you open it, it's going to give you something like this, right? For example, on mine, I've got all these recent files I've been working on, and boy, some of those are pretty old for recent files. But Excel doesn't get as much of a workout on this computer as one might hope. All right, but I'm going to go for blank workbook, which is the choice in the upper left corner of the kind of choices, right? So I go for that. Now I've got an Excel sheet open. Okay, so we're going to go with saving as computer skills. All right, so it's going to be voiding quiz number 4, and this is 9-2-2020. All right, so you'll notice that it starts, it highlights the cell A1. Okay, so so that cell, right, that is how we identify all the places in Excel. Is there's a letter across the top, and when they get to Z, they go to AA, AB, AC, so on and so on, right? And then we have numbers down designating the rows. All right, so in A1, I'm going to type in my name. Right, then I'm going to put quiz and number 4. Except, wait a minute, I've already made a mistake. So I'm going to go back to quiz number 4, and you notice if I hover the cursor right on the edge of the cell, it gives me a little 4-way arrow sign, right? So I'm just going to drag that down to the next cell, and in here I'm going to put ENGR -123. That's ENGR, not ENGL. And 123, not 236.
Who would do such a thing?
Those bastards. Those wrong designation bastards. Look, it's not a huge deal. I don't have so many students that I have to spend half an hour tracking down if somebody puts the wrong designation on their homework. But in the engineering and technology field, kind of important to be accurate as much as we can. All right, so to get down to A4, all I have to do is hit enter twice. So I hit enter, it goes down to where I put quiz number 4. I hit enter, and it goes down to A4, and I'm just going to put 9/2/2020. Right? And I'm going to hit enter again. Now, surprisingly, it stayed exactly the same. And I say surprisingly because very often it will change. Like it might have changed it to 2 September 2020. Right? There's a whole variety of different ways of formatting dates and times. So in fact, I'm going to click back on that cell and then right click, and you'll notice here close to the bottom of the menu choices, it says format cells. All right, so I'm going to go down to that. And you'll notice it's got all kinds of cell formatting things here. Right now we're on date, and I'm not going to go into all the different cell formatting things right now. We'll get to all of that in the fullness of time, when the fields are white with daisies. Right, but you'll notice here under it's date is highlighted, and then 3/14/2012 is highlighted. Right, but you can see below that it gives you a variety of different ways of formatting. I could have gone with Wednesday, March 14th. Okay, well, it would actually change it to Wednesday, September the 2nd. Boy, I don't know if this computer knows what date it really is. That is a good question. No, it does, because down in the bottom right corner, under the time and date thing, it says the correct date. right? But Microsoft gives us a representation of how you can format differently. Okay, so for example, I could go here, 03/14/12, click on that, and then if I hit OK, see, it'll give me 09/02/20. All right, so these are all, look, there's so many date and time choices. Really, you're probably going to end up using one or two. But it does give you a lot of choices against wanting to change things around, shake things up, whatever. All right, so of course on our Excel, we still have our ribbon up here, and that gives us a bunch of different choices of things we can do, right? Right now it's on the Home tab, and with the Home tab, some of the things look very familiar, and some of the things not so much. For example, over here on our left, we have our clipboard, so we can cut, copy, use the format painter. We can expand that. We can actually use the clipboard to save things, although we don't do that as much anymore. It seems like. It used to be, if you started cutting and copying on Excel, the clipboard would just automatically be there. And, but now we don't, it doesn't seem to be as popular a feature. Why? You got me. All right, so over here we have our font, and as with Word, Calibri is the default font that it likes to use. We still have our bold, italics, underline, and we have a place where we can format around our, we can format the borders around our cells. For example, it's the default is the bottom border, underline with a light touch, right? So if I click on that, you can't see it because this cell is highlighted, but if I go down, you can see it just put a light bottom border on there, right? So sometimes we'll do that for emphasis, or for example, in your grade books, I usually, like for the quizzes or some of the homeworks or the midterms and finals, I'll have worked out the answers, and I'll go ahead and put a thick outside border around the answers, so that when I'm grading the midterm, or I'm grading the final, or I'm grading the homework, or I'm grading the quizzes, that draws my eye exactly to the answer. All right, we can fill a cell with color, and the default color is yellow. I may have emphasized before, yellow is the first color your brain processes. So if you really want to draw attention to things, you put them in yellow. Right? I think I talked about this in terms of warning signs. Right? Most warning signs are in yellow. For that matter, a lot of highway signs and highway indicators are also in yellow so that your eye is drawn to them. I can change the font color, right? Oh, I should have said, yellow, of course, is not the only color that we can see here, right? We can look at all kinds of different colors for filling in a cell. I would recommend not using black unless you don't want people to read that cell. But actually, I have done that in the past. When I have cells that have that make the rest of the program work, I'll color them in black so that people aren't tempted to go in there and say, "Hey, what happens if I do this?" Right? But we're a bit away from doing anything like that. Right? And of course, these are just the super easy colors, right? If you want to get really involved, oh my God, you go over here to the 256 color chart and go wild from there. Right, but for me, most of the time, I use color to emphasize different things, right? So for example, you'll notice if you look back by the door to my office, and this is really easy for those of you watching the video or the listening on Zoom right now, you see that I've made the schedules so that everybody has their own color, so that you can quickly see who has what color and when their classes are. All right, well, we can change the font color. A lot of times we're doing very practical calculation type things on Excel. So a lot of times we just leave it black, right? But there could be reasons that you want to use a different color. You might want to use it because you're filling in the cells. You want a color that contrasts better with that color than black. Or I know one time we did a fake test for old people in human factors when I was studying at Ohio University, where we used a blue background with blue numbers because as people get old, their color discrimination doesn't work as well. All right, as usual, we have our A with an up arrow, which means we can make our text bigger, or A with a down arrow, which means we can make our text smaller, right? So I'm going to make the date a little bigger, and I'm going to make quiz number 4 a little smaller, right? So the default font size is 11. Now, people sometimes want to fool with their font size, and they'll do ridiculous things like they'll make the font size 8. Well, 8 you know, maybe for young people like you is super easy to read. For somebody like myself, though, forget it. 8 is just, I have to really concentrate and put my nose up against the screen and other things to read an 8. So ordinarily, we should only go with an 11 or 12 as our default size. Oh, wait, I was supposed to leave that at 10. All right. Now, our alignment works, is there anything else I should discuss here? Right, of course, you've got a ton of different fonts like you do in Word. You can do the effects. They're not on the major default, right? Regular, italic, bold italic, size, color, right? So really the only thing that you can't get to in the regular font box is the strike through superscript, subscript dialog here. All right, then we have the alignment here, so that, so I'm right next to here. So this is a super long sentence to illustrate a point. All right, you'll notice it starts spilling over into the other cells when you type, right? And that's fine. If I were just going to go down to the next line to write something, no problem. But what if I want to put something in this? This is blocking my sentence. Right? Well, now you can see, wait a minute, there's a problem here. You can read, if I click on this cell, I can read the sentence, but I'm, but otherwise, if I'm just somewhere else, I may not remember, or if I print it out, the people who read it may not be able to. So, for something like this, we click on the cell and we go up here to wrap text, right? And that's going to wrap all the text around so that we can then read it. Okay? Now, this is boy, I could have done an even shorter long sentence and I would have been okay. Right, so this this is a way, sometimes we want to put something in like headers, or some other thing where we want to wrap the text, right? We want to be able to read all the text, without it sticking under the next cell and being lost, right? We could also, for example, you see here, we have our regular justify left, center, justify right, but we can also do a, here, now you'll notice I can change the size of the row by coming over here and I put my cursor right on the bottom and then I get a line with an up and down arrow, right? I can then make it a little bit taller, right? So right now, you'll notice it's at the, it's on the top, right? But I could put it so that it's in the middle of the cell or at the bottom of the cell. I can rotate also the text, and we'll deal with that a little bit later. See, now right now, I can do that same thing to make my columns wider or narrower, right? So if I just, so you can see I've got the same kind of thing. I've got a vertical line with a left and right arrow associated with it. If I just click it twice, okay, why are you fighting me here? Oh, because I wrapped the text, it won't do it. Instead I'll show you on this one. All right, so here on column C, I've got the "this is blocking my sentence." If I double click, it makes C super wide so that it accommodates the width of this sentence. Right, so we can play with the width of the columns and the heights of the rows to accommodate what we want to put into our information, right? Because sometimes you just put a big enough number in, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, right? You'll notice it automatically changed the format of the numbers so that it would fit. And it also widened the column a bit. Okay, now I'm going to go here, and you'll notice it went ahead and widened the column. So I'm going to go ahead and go here to the line between 6 and 7 and double click, and you'll notice it shortened up the height of that row. Okay, so the other thing that we might do in the alignment is we click on here and I say, you know what, I don't like it to be left justified. I could go ahead and hit this, but I could also hit the merge and center. In fact, here, let me do that. Here, I'll just write mindless babble in here. All right, so sometimes you want to put more than one cell together. Okay, so I can highlight these two cells, and then I hit merge and center, and you'll notice it gives me a little warning. Merging cells only keeps the upper left value and discards other values. All right, well, if I want to preserve the information in both cells, I would hit cancel, but in this case, I'm just going to hit OK. Right, and it goes ahead and puts those two together, right? So then I could fool with other kinds of formatting that I want. You'll notice it put the two cells together. It says this is blocking my sentence. It kept the default of the information at the lowest point, right? But I'll go ahead and hit for it to be in the center both ways. All right. These spreadsheet programs were made especially to manipulate numbers, right? There's a lot of other stuff they can be used for that is very useful. Things like creating the schedule. For example, last spring, I created the schedule for the entire engineering department for not only this fall, but next spring as well, right? And I created it so people could go through, because we were having a lot of problems where we would end up with introduction to engineering being at the same time. Another class was that students needed to take intro to engineering. Well, obviously that slows everything down. So I put everything together so that the student, no matter what year they're in, they can go through smoothly. Now, this doesn't work quite as well when we talk about transfer students, right? Because they have part of the classes, and so then we're making accommodations. But the people that start here, start going through a program, under this scheme will be able to just keep going through, and every semester they'll be able to take the classes they need. Okay, so enough patting myself on the back about that. All right, so in general, our numbers, well, let me show you, we'll start with down on A10, I'm going to write XYZ Industries and then employees. All right, so under that, I might have George West as one of our employees, Calvin Click-Ticker, Garcia Bass. All right, so that's enough of that. Now, I might want to widen, that's not how you spell Calvin. Why didn't you guys correct me? Okay, maybe you don't know how to spell Calvin either, or don't care. Always a possibility. All right, so I'm going to widen the this column enough that employees fits comfortably on here, right? But then I say, well, wait a minute, George West is over that, so I do a wrap text thing there. Calvin Click Ticker is definitely over that, so I wrap text. Okay, and then I put, so after employees, I put gross weekly pay. Then I put federal tax, Social Security, Medicare, what else would we have? We'd have insurance, retirement. All right, so that's enough stuff. Right, so you'll notice that gross weekly pay and Social Security are both too big, so I go ahead and do my wrap text on both of those. Right, I might go ahead and just say, you know what, I want all of these to be centered, so I want to center both ways. Right over here, I might want to go total deductions, and then net weekly pay. Right, so retirement is really crowded in there. I might just ease that a little tiny bit. Do a wrap text for total deductions, and since deductions doesn't fit neatly, just ease my column out a little bit there, and do a wrap text for net weekly pay. Now, so you may notice that these guys that I added after I had done the others kind of automatically took the same formatting as the previous entries. All right, and also I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make XYZ my banner, so I highlight all of the cells all the way over to net weekly pay. I'm going to hit merge and center, right? And I want to do something a little bit fancy, so I'll go ahead and bold that, and I'll do a bottom double border. Always one of my favorite ways of highlighting things. All right. So I've got these guys, and And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to assign random numbers to these guys. So George West makes $1,500 a week. Calvin makes $1,750, and Garcia Bass makes an even $2,000. All right, but you'll notice, hey, wait a minute. These obviously they're making this in dollars, but it doesn't say dollars. So I highlight these, and then I come up here to the number box, and you'll notice that right here it says accounting number format, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and hit the $sign, and it will then change all of these to dollar denominations, right? And I could go English pounds, euros, Chinese yuan, French or Swiss francs, and they give you a lot more. I mean, you know, you can do Congolese, ding-dongs, whatever. Now, I don't want to have to calculate separately the deductions for everyone, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come here to federal tax beside George West, and I'm going to say equals. So federal tax is usually about 25%. So we're going to call it 25%. So 0.25 times 1,500. Right? Then I'm going to hit tab to go over to the next, right? Social Security is 7% of your pay, and your employer pays another 7%. All right, so equals 7% as a decimal number is how much? 0.07 times the gross weekly pay. Okay? Medicare, man, I have no idea what they're charging me for that. I should probably be more aware. So we're going to call that 3.5%. Equals 0.035 times gross weekly pay. Insurance, we're just going to put in as a number, and we're going to say that every week that's 100. Retirement, well, George West is putting in 7% of his pay for retirement. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, I put A12 instead of B12. That's not a good way to run a railroad. And L is of no help either. B already. Oh, okay, it is B. All right, so now insurance, you'll notice, wasn't recognized as a cash number. So I click on that cell and click my dollar sign again. My total deductions is going to be equal to sum, S-U-M, left parenthesis, then I'm just going to illuminate or highlight all of these and do a right parenthesis, and that's how much money is going to come out of his paycheck. And man, that's a lot of money coming out.
What was your formula for social or for Medicare?
For Medicare, it was equals 0.035 times B12.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, your gross weekly pay is how much you get paid or how much you earn, right? So at 1,500, oh gosh, what does that mean? George is getting about $37.50 an hour. Wow, George is doing well. Right? So 40 hours at $37.50 an hour, 1,500. Now, but he has these deductions, right? The government gets their bite. To have insurance costs some money. To put some money away for retirement. We don't know if this is a 401k or this is sent to his to some other mechanism. Really doesn't matter. All right, so the net weekly pay is going to be equal to his gross weekly pay minus his total deductions. And then we hit return. Right, so he started off with $1,500. He goes home with $762.50 in his pocket. Whether that's cash, which is actually kind of rare now to get paid in cash.
What was that? The B12 minus for the formula for
H12.
H12?
Okay. So now I can do a thing here where I say, you know what? For everybody, these, the federal tax, Social Security, Medicare, and insurance are going to be the same. So I can come up here, click on the federal tax, come down here and see when I've got a strong black cross there. If I left click and pull it down, it'll just automatically copy the formula, but change it to Calvin Clickticker's weekly pay and Garcia Bassett's weekly pay.
Can you show that again? How you just dragged it?
As it happens, I'm about to show you again. All right, so we can also do that with several cells at once, right? So I come over here, I highlight all of these, I go down to the bottom right corner of those cells. I've got that strong black cross. I left click and pull down, and it then will copy those into down. Now, you may notice there's one mistake in this regard. The mistake is insurance. Actually, insurance costs the same for everyone. But when I copied it down, it advanced the number. And in your settings, you can set it to say, when I pull down, I always want the same number, or when I pull down, I want it to keep counting. All right, so I've got to fix that and go 100, right? And I can then, if I highlight two numbers that are both the same, even if it's been told to count, it'll copy the same number down. All right, well, retirement is going to be different for everyone. George West said his at, I want 7% of my pay to go wherever for my retirement, right? And a lot of people don't pay attention to their retirement. It is not unusual for young people like yourselves to think, oh, I won't live past 30. If I live to be 35, it'll be a miracle. Well, tell you what, the odds are you're not only going to live past 30, you might live to be 95 or more. So we should always be thinking about retirement and sticking away money. Okay, that's the editorial part of the class today. In this case, it's individual. Calvin Clickticker just says, you know what? Take 250 out of my pay every week. And Garcia Bass says, oh no, I want 10% taken out of my pay every week. All right? Now you'll notice when I just hard-coded in 250, it said that it just put it as a plain number. So again, I have to go back up here and hit the dollar sign. All right, so in the same way that we just pulled down the formulas over here on the left, we can go ahead and pull down our total deduction formula and also our net weekly pay. Now you'll notice that the total deductions for Garcia Bass, it has a bunch of little number signs, make it look kind of like a railroad track is going through. All right. What do we do in that case? What that means is the number's too big for the cell size.
Double click on the cell, on the, what is it, H, outside H. Make it-
Right. We come up here, we double click on the line between the H and the I, and it'll go ahead and fix that. All right, so is that all we have to know, is how much to give these guys? Oh, no. We also Oh. Okay, you'll notice when I typed in before, I did it before I set my alignment. All right. So now we have to know how much money to send to the government. I hate to do it. I don't trust my government with my money. But if you don't do it, they send around people with guns to put you in jail. And I hate when I'm in jail. Okay, I've only been in jail once when I was a Cub Scout and they took us to the Ector County Jail in Texas. But the principle remains the same. All right, so once again, I'm going to use my sum function. So I'm going to say equals SUM, left click. I'm going to highlight these cells. I'm going to put a right parenthesis, and then I'm going to tab over to the next. Okay, so when we do that, you'll notice equals SUM, and you can see it gives me a dialog box of a whole bunch of different choices, right? I can do a simple sum like I've been doing. I can do a sum if some condition is met. I can do a sum ifs, sum of the products, sum of squares. I mean, oh my God, I got choices. So sum is a function in Excel. And functions can be used for all kinds of different things. I mean, there are literally so many functions. I don't know them all. Maybe there's somebody who is so expert on Excel, they know what every function does, but there are thousands and thousands of them. Okay, so now, if I don't want to just keep typing, I can go down and sum is illuminated and just click on that. Just click on that, double click, and then it will it'll pop up sum with the left parenthesis, right? Once again, I'm just highlighting the cells I want to sum up, right parenthesis, tab. All right. Now, in the same way that we pulled down the equations before, I can go to the bottom right corner, get my strong black cross, and I can just pull that sideways to make to sum up the Medicare payment and the insurance payment. Right, so so we have these, all of these are going to have to be sent off, the first three to the feds, the fourth to the insurance company. The retirements I didn't sum up because they may be going to different places. Maybe two of these guys are investing in a 401k and the other one has the money going to a mutual fund or his personal stock account, whatever. Total deductions, it doesn't necessarily make sense to sum that up, right? Because that is going to be going to different places. What might make sense is we know that all the money for the government is going to be sent to the IRS, right? So we could say IRS payment and say equal sum, left parenthesis, and just add those three up together, right parenthesis, Bob's your uncle. Oh, right, okay, yeah. Right, and because the IRS is so mean, so vicious, we might illuminate these two squares and then go up here and put the thick outside border to remind us to send that money off right away. All right, so now, we really haven't gone over all these tabs, but I want to stop at this point and think about what do we do if we want to print this out the way things are. All right, so we go to File, Print, and you'll notice it comes out on 2 sheets. Oh, sheet. But we don't, well, let me go back for a moment. Now that we've looked at it on print, we can go back and you see this thin dotted line. That shows you where the edge of the paper is, right? We're in portrait mode. And if I go down to the bottom, it shows me where the bottom of that paper is. All right, so I might want to go over here to page layout and then hit the orientation tab. And that gives me the choice of either portrait or landscape. Well, because we've only got a wee tiny bit hanging out here, if we switch to landscape, you'll notice that moves our thin dotted line out. And if we go to print, everything's going to come out on the same page. When we work with Excel, if we're going to print directly from Excel, we always want to keep the print layout in mind. because what that is going to mean is, well, there's nothing more frustrating to me. Well, actually, there's probably a lot of things that are more frustrating to me, but we'll say this is the one. Then having to look at an Excel sheet where I'm having to hold two pieces of paper to read the numbers that I need. Right? As opposed to having just one and I say, oh, okay, I see that, yeah, I get it. All right, so I've changed the orientation to landscape so it'll print everything out very nicely. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to the home page, or the home tab, excuse me. Keep the home tabs burning, as the old song reminds us. Now, because this is so wide, and I have everything blown up to 200%, you'll notice I can't really see column A here. Right? But what I want to do is, I mentioned that it's all Calibri. Well, I'm just going to change this part to be Times New Roman. All right? And on Excel, you always have to scroll down. They don't give you the choice recently used fonts like they do on Word and in PowerPoint. All right. Times New Roman Navajo is interesting, but it often changes a lot of the letters and symbols. So I don't want to do that. Now, down here, as I mentioned, the default font size is 11. Personally, I prefer for the font size to be at least 12. Right, so I'm going to come down here, I'm going to illuminate everything, and I'm just going to hit my little A with an up arrow to go to 12. But you notice what happens then, employees gets crowded here. Right, so I'm just going to come up here and do my magic double click. That makes it too wide though. All right, there we go. Right, and I look over here to see, all right, everything looks okay, and you'll notice now it's right up against our thin dotted line, right? So that means it'll fit and look really good on our sheet of paper.
You have it under landscape?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
in landscape. Yes, I'm sorry, was I being obscure when I said that part?
I was partially listening.
Both of these explanations are possible. being the kind of overeducated classic scholar that I am, I'm often using words and phrases and my students are going, what the hell is that bald guy on about? Okay, so now, something very, very important is I go up to File, click that, and click Save, because you can no longer do automatic saving unless it's to the Microsoft Drive. Okay? Now, if you want to save things that way, that's fine. The problem that I find is here on the res, we have a lot of internet outages. So if you need to retrieve a file from Drive and the internet's out, well, you can just forget it. So I always keep my files on my computer or in one of my convenient flash drives. All right, one thing that I need to tell you is I've been grading your homework all along, but yesterday I went ahead and scanned the graded copies and made a file for each of you, and I sent that by email to you this morning. Okay, so everybody who has been turning in homework got a file with their graded homework on it, so you can see what where you made mistakes. And of course, correct those. Could be an important part, the whole correcting aspect. Now, I don't mean like correct your homework on your flash drive and send me another copy. Please don't do that. But I mean, see where you made your mistake, because in the future, you want to avoid making the same mistake that you made this time. All right, so I've sent you those. If you did such a good job that you got a perfect score, I may have only copied the first page of a 2-page or longer document. Okay, so only pages with your grade or corrections have been sent to you. Let me think, what else? All right, so I recommend, particularly for this class, try and keep up. Our homework, our quizzes are pretty easy in this class. You may have noticed that. You may be saying to yourself, man, this bald guy is playing with us here. But try and keep up, because even super easy homework, if you get behind, it starts to get to be a drag trying to get caught up on the whole thing. Are there any questions? Yes, on you on Zoom, what's going on? Oh, refusing to talk, eh? All right. I'm going to go ahead and call it a class here. We'll pick up again next Monday. If I get the library videos, I will send y'all an email and say, hey, classes, watch these videos. instead of actually having to come to class. Unfortunately, our librarian has not been super rapid about getting those to me. So unless you see an email like that, assume you have to come to class on Monday. Okay, well, thank you very much. And when the fields are white with daisies, we'll meet again. And don't forget to send me your file for quiz number 4 here. Oh, man. Ugh.
Is it okay if I have a copy of quiz number 4 on my drive? Because I need to fix it.
Weren't you copying as we went along?
Yeah, I got behind.
Oh, death was thy sting. Okay, you can copy it. However, remember, I have subtle ways of telling whether you did the work or I did the work.
Okay.
Oh, I'm on the wrong row.